I'm Bobbie Foedisch. My focus is just really helping folks upskill in the hybrid work environment. So helping you to really understand how to open doors and build relationships via social networking in conjunction with the day-to-day regular face-to-face routines. I mean, it's really just about leveraging technology in a way that works for what you do outside of technology and becoming the same person online that you are offline, right? Representing yourself the right way. So, today's topic is power prospecting, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, power prospecting today. So, we're going to talk about a couple of things. There are some basics that go along with prospecting when it comes to leveraging LinkedIn to do that. And so, I do want to hit some of the basics with you on LinkedIn, specifically leveraging the platform, like building a network, just like building a network in real life. There are basics to it. So we have to make sure that we're surrounding ourselves with the right people, that we're building the right ecosystems, that we're leveraging folks in the right way, and also paying things forward, making sure that we're helping others, right? Because it really is not just about what others can do for us, but what we can do for others. And when it comes to LinkedIn, it's not just about who we know, but it's also about who knows us. So LinkedIn is a great way to magnify conversations, information. It's an information highway. LinkedIn is really a search engine. So it operates more like Google than Facebook. Most people don't actually realize that. So having the right information out there is necessary in order to be found for the right information. And we might touch a little bit on search engine optimization today as far as profile goes, because it is important. Profile is important, especially in prospecting, because it's like the suit that you put on, or the dress that you put on. It's you're representing yourself. Your profile is very often a first impression or a confirmation of impressions of who you are. So your profile does need to have an accurate depiction of how you can help people, um, and that has a lot to do with the words that you put on it, but also how pretty you make it, right? Kind of like dressing yourself up for that meeting. So part of your digital footprint, it is critical. But the really big part of it, I mean, everything starts with your network. So I'm going to give you an example, and I'm going to use a lot of real life examples throughout this whole conversation today. And I do recommend, if you have questions, please don't put it in chat, especially when I'm sharing screens. I actually won't see the chat. Please feel free to use the chat to talk to each other. But if you have a question for me, I'd like for you to interrupt me. Just come right out and tell me you have a question. If you're not comfortable with that, that's okay. We have reaction buttons at the bottom of our screen. So at the very bottom, where your toolbar is, if you don't have it just your toolbar just steadily sitting there, you have to wiggle your mouse to populate that. You'll see a reactions button. When you click on that reactions button, there's a couple of different things that you can do. There's a long button at the bottom that says raise hand. So I'm not talking about one of the emojis, not the thumbs up or clapping or anything like that. It literally says raise hand. When you click that button, it populates you to the top of the screen so that I can see that you're raising your hand. Where if you hit an emoji, it's going to keep your box right where it is. So when I'm sharing screens, I can only see 5 of you. I can't see any more than that. So I'll never see you click that button. So if I could have everybody actually go in and raise their hand for me and keep it raised, raise, 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 because you also have to lower it, but we're not going to lower it yet. Everybody just raise, 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 raise. Yep, your digital hands. I mean, you can raise your regular hand too, but like I
I
said, we're
want to
just
do
gonna,
both. I want to get
yeah,
extra points for doing both.
you get 5 stars, Mark. You do both, absolutely. And yep, I even got some folks raising hands and giving me an emoji. I'll take that. I'll take that. But first, we got to raise hands. Raise, 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 raise. I have some clappers. Let's get a raise. And then lower. So you'll also have to lower your hand. Now that takes you away from the top of the screen from me. So you can use the reactions throughout for anything you'd like to use them for, but the most important one is actually raising and lowering your hand if you're not comfortable just interrupting me. Okay. Um, I will also ask, because this is about leveraging LinkedIn in a way that we do in real life. When we show up to anything in real life, we show up in full. We show up with our we're ready to go, right? Dressed and ready. So I always request that everybody actually turn their cameras on for these sessions, because this is a networking session. We are meeting each other, and when you show up to anything from a prospecting meeting to an event or anything else, You do not show up wearing a paper bag over your head, right? You show up fully in person. That's what you do. So if you can't do it for whatever reason, I completely understand. It's just a request I put out there. I do like to see body language. It helps me understand what direction to go in. And also the questions you ask help me understand what direction to go in. There's about 60 hours of information that I could give you on LinkedIn if we started right now and went 60 hours straight without any interruption, believe it or not. And so I get less than 90 minutes to give you as much possible information as I can. So I will absolutely jam as much information into this as I possibly can. That's why sometimes you just have to stop me and interrupt me. Nick, are you raising your hand or are you just still raised? You still raised? You have a question?
No, sorry, it's still raised. I don't know how
Oh,
you.
that's okay. Click on your reactions button and now you'll be able to lower your hand in the reactions.
Oh, okay, sorry.
No, that's okay.
Oh, lower
Perfect.
hand. There we go.
Absolutely.
Sorry
Got
about that.
it. You got it. Good job. Start for you
I
too.
clapped first. I did clap first. I have to admit.
uh, Abigail, I got your chat, no problem. Just don't forget, folks, just come right off of chat for me. Also, if you could stay on mute until you need to come off mute, just because a lot of times there's background noise that we don't recognize in our own space, but everyone else is going to hear it on the call. Definitely come off mute to ask questions or contribute to the conversation at any time. I truly, truly, truly want you to engage in this because this changes the direction that we go in throughout the entire conversation. I will answer every question you have about LinkedIn and prospecting on LinkedIn. If you have a question off topic about LinkedIn, meaning around profile or content distribution or content marketing, maybe it's about groups or engagement, I'm going to ask you to put that in the parking lot until the end if it's off topic, and we will definitely try and get back to every question by the end of the session. But for the largest portion of the session, we are going to concentrate on prospecting. So I would like to get an idea in the room of where you believe you are as far as your LinkedIn knowledge goes. Okay. So we're going to say on a scale of 1 to 10 on LinkedIn knowledge. If you'll click your reactions button and just have that up for a second, I'm going to tell you what emoji to hit depending on where you are on the scale of 1 to 10 so I can get a visual of where you believe you are. So if you're a 1 to 3, right, you're on LinkedIn, you've got a profile, you don't really use LinkedIn much, but you know it's there and you usually know your password to get in and you do connect with people, not intentionally, but people reach out to you and you'll accept, and sometimes you'll send a connection request, and maybe once in a while you'll pop onto the feed. That's a 1 to 3. If you're a 1 to 3, I'm just going to get a thumbs up from you. Okay. Now, if you're a 4 to 7, I'm sorry, I'm going to change that. 4 to 6. 4 to 6 is right in the middle, right? You got a profile. It's pretty good. You don't know if it's optimized, but it does represent you and the professional that you are. You use LinkedIn to connect with people that you meet with on a regular basis. You're pretty picky about who you connect with. You're trying to build the right ecosystem on LinkedIn. You probably post a couple times a month, maybe you belong to a couple of groups. You might use a company page, and perhaps even go so far as to publish articles, right? In addition to posting regular content on a home feed. That's a 4 to 6. If you're a 4 to 6, I want you to give me the that emoji. Okay. 7 to 9. You're a 7 to 9 if you're on LinkedIn, your profile is absolutely 100% optimized so you can get found faster in searches and you're giving the right first impression. You're using LinkedIn in a number of ways, from building the right ecosystem to leveraging posting on LinkedIn, building your follower base personally, your follower base corporately, your first degree connections, and your subscribers as well, meaning you're using multiple content distribution channels and reaching multiple target audiences intentionally on LinkedIn. You also are a part of groups, may even run your own group on LinkedIn as well, and even maybe have a showcase page or two that's associated with your company page, and you're building out the follower bases there. Plus, you're using the different features like advanced searches to be able to identify not only your target markets, but also you're locating your best referral partners and leveraging LinkedIn search activity to be able to identify the best referral partners to help you open more doors into your target market. That's a 7 to 9. If you're a 7 to 9, I want you to hit the celebration button, the horn with all the things coming out of it. And if you are a 10, you're gonna just let me take a break for the next 90 minutes and take over for me. So if you're a 10, we're going to get the laughing guy. Okay. So if everyone could hit the emoji that they're associated with as far as their scale of where you believe you are on LinkedIn right now, I'd love to see a visual of where you believe you are at the moment. Okay. Okay. All right. We got a lot of middle range folks here. That's pretty good. Not too bad. I'm gonna hit on a couple of beginner level things that most people just don't know as well, as far as building your network. So a question I have for everybody is how you build your network. I'd like to know that. So your network on LinkedIn, if you largely connect with people very intentionally, people that you know you know, love and trust, right? People you've met networking, people you've met at other events, people, prospects, clients, partners. You could say that you probably know 80 to 90% of your network, and the other 10 to 20% definitely know who you are. And it's, like I said, intentional. If your network is built like that, I want you to give me a heart. Give me a heart. Okay. All right. All right. All right. Great. All right, so let's talk about that for 1 second and the importance of it, because this is something that actually stirs up a lot of debate. I think with social media, most people believe that the more you have, the better. And I'm going to tell you that in some cases that might be true. But when it comes to a B2B environment and relationship development, that is not necessarily the case unless you have actually spent time building into that number, right? So it's not a race. It's not like you hit 500 plus and you get a cookie for it. It's not like you want to have 30,000 connections immediately. It's really not the way it works, because in that instance, if you think about the stuff that comes into your news feed on LinkedIn, the stuff that you pay attention to is largely the stuff that people post that you really know, people that really have an effect or impact on you, and vice versa. Those are the posts you pay attention to. So if you think about it, if you have a stream, if your newsfeed is a stream of a bunch of posts by people you don't know, you're really not going to pay that much attention to it. And from the perspective of more people knowing who you are and what you do, uh, if you think about it from that perspective, yep, it is important to get your information out. But being in a B2B environment, it's important to have relationships that you're using to help get information out. So I'm going to give you an example of 3 doors. I actually wrote a newsletter on this a while back. You can find it on my profile if it is of interest to you. If you had the option of 3 doors in front of you and which one you're going to walk into, I want you to think about, this is about building your network and ecosystem. All right, so door number one has all of the people you know, love, and trust in it, and all of the people that know, love, and trust you. That's door number one. Okay. Door number two has everybody from door number one in it, plus everybody that they think you should know. That's door number two. Door number three has 30,000 random professionals in it. It's a huge room full of people, but you don't really know them at all. What door would you rather walk into? What is your preference? Right? Two, absolutely. That's how you want to build your network on LinkedIn. That's your ecosystem. That's what's important. If that's the door you want to walk into in real life, that's the room you want to build for yourself here on LinkedIn. And we can do it very quickly, or we can do it very slowly. But the critical part of it all is actually building it with intention, having purpose behind it, because that network is going to take everything further. If you establish your network the right way, everything else matters, right? So what you say is going to have weight behind it. It's going to matter. People are going to care about what you say. They're going to engage in what you say, and that message is going to go further, because then their networks are going to see what you're saying. So that's all the people they know, love, and trust. So if you have, it's, I actually personally think it's better to have 50 incredible first degree connections than 30,000 random B2B professionals. Personally, you can actually leverage that 50 much more so than you could 30,000 that you don't know. Okay. So always think about that. You should be connecting with intention and purpose. Connect with everybody you ever have a meeting with, right? No matter what, connect with people you meet networking, connect with the folks that you see here in this room, connect with speakers that you see, connect with authors that you love, connect with the people that actually make a difference and impact for you in your world, because that's the room that you would want in real life. And that's the room that will actually make that impact. So the very first thing you have to do is focus on your network and ecosystem. Very often, we actually don't realize how many people we don't know that we're connected to on LinkedIn. We don't, even though we're intentionally connecting with people we do know, most folks, I'll ask that do believe they've connected with most folks that they do know, and we'll actually scrub their network and take a look at it. And what we find is they might know 70%, 60% of the network, but then there's that 34, 40% that they don't know, but aren't doing anything about getting to know them either. So that's a lot of white noise. That's a lot of random people taking up space in your network. Now you get 30,000 first degree connections on LinkedIn. That's a lot. And there's nothing wrong with having 30,000 first degree connections if you build it with intention, right? I get the question all the time, Bobbie, do you have like 30,000 connections? Or are you must, right? I do not. I have less than 3,000 connections. But those 3,000 connections know who I am and I know who they are. They're people I've coached and trained, people that have attended speaking engagements, people that I've met networking, people that I've sat across the table and had coffee with, people that I've just simply met online and had conversations with there. But we all know each other. I know who they are, they know who I am. And I continue to build that one person at a time, which is exactly how we need to go about it, one person at a time. If you build the network that way, it changes everything about LinkedIn, everything. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about actually going through and making sure that we are building that network the right way and some best practices around that, because there
Can
is
I,
absolutely
hey,
nothing more
Bobbie,
critical. Yes.
could I ask a question just before? I mean, maybe you're going to go into this, but is there any danger in having too many? And I don't mean 30,000, because I don't connect with the person from Uzbekistan or the beauty consultant or, those
Oh,
things
good.
I get. I'm kind of picky, and I am a bit picky, but last couple of years, what I've done is just, I'll connect if somebody wants to connect with me, and now I have a couple connections in common, and in the same
Ah,
industry, and I don't know them. I've
yeah,
tended to do that. Is there any danger to doing that? I used to do it
yeah,
just to people I knew and respected. And
yeah,
so could
yeah,
you talk a little bit about that? Because I struggle with that
absolutely.
myself. And I have a lot of people in my network I look at and I'm like, I have no idea who they are.
Yeah, so there actually is real danger in that, right? So here's the thing. So understand what happens when you connect with somebody. Okay. When you connect with somebody, it's a double opt-in of full access. You're both giving each other full access to the information on your profile, potentially to the network that you have, right? If you don't close down your connections, it becomes public information to anybody you're a first degree connection with. It gives them the ability to access you more and gives you the ability to access them more. And that is why there's danger in it. So because I could easily connect with I could build a fake profile, connect with a bunch of people from the same organization. That organization then sees, for individuals see that I have other connections inside of that organization. So even though they don't know me, they're going to accept that connection request, right? And that can be dangerous because you don't know who I am. So in not knowing that, there are a number of things that can happen. Hacking, right? Catfishing. I have actually worked with a number of organizations that have had their LinkedIn profiles taken hostage, and that is a true thing. So profiles, what happens with that is they take your profile hostage because they've gained access to your information. They've been able to hack into probably not just your account, but accounts that are related to your account. And so they demand a very small amount of money to release back your profile, or they will actually send out messaging to your entire network containing child pornography or something of that nature. So not knowing the people that you're connecting to can actually cause damage, a lot of damage. Not just that, but public engagement. So they can engage in content of yours in a very negative way should they choose to. And generally, it wouldn't be the person that the profile says it is, it's somebody else that's running a fake profile. So this is like allowing strangers in your house at a holiday party that you don't know. You don't know what's going to be taken or what's going to be damaged. You just don't know that because you don't know those people. So as with any social media, these are things that are true, that truly do happen, and they happen on a regular basis. And I've never actually seen a ransom higher than $5,000. Usually it's somewhere between $1,000 and $5,000 per profile. they'll take the profile ransom, demand that money, and then release it back to you for that small amount of money because they know that they can get that. And sometimes the damage will happen anyway. They'll still send out that messaging to your entire network. And the people, that don't know you, they are not going to know it's not really you sending it out. The people that do know you will. So there's damage in that as well, is reputation, damage to your reputation. I would just be careful, right? I'm not saying that you have to know everybody in depth and know their children and their favorite color, but be aware of what's happening, because just because they're connected to people in your network does not make them a true person. That's the thing about social media, is people can hide behind profiles. LinkedIn is a little bit different in that it's a professional network. So we are a little bit more trusting on LinkedIn, which is actually the wrong way to approach it. We should actually be a little more careful on LinkedIn because it is our digital reputation. So it's a great question. Thank you for asking that. I would recommend you take the time to get to know people. And you can do that. I'm going to show you a couple of ways to do that. But you really do want to vet people. So I'm very careful about who I connect with in general, right? Very careful. I have very specific rules I follow. I always have. Well, that's not true. There was a time when I just connected with anybody and everybody, and I quickly changed that. It can become detrimental quickly. So first of all, did that answer your question? Okay.
Yeah,
So,
yes, thank you.
So
okay,
Bobbie,
great.
I'll be more careful.
Yeah. Was
Bobbie,
there
as a
another-
follow-up to that and something you said earlier about networking with people in your meetings, and certainly this is the FANG group is everybody's your friend that you haven't met
Yeah.
yet. Should we be putting our kind of contact or URLs in the chat so we can kind of reach out and get some of that personal
Yeah.
interaction in there?
Absolutely. I always recommend in every virtual event to always put your contact information and get people connecting with you, right? Give each other the ability to get to know each other through the content that you're posting, and even set up one-on-ones with each other as a result of the networking. The great thing about LinkedIn is that you can network with people on a regular basis at 2 in the morning in your fuzzy bunny slippers, and they can network back at 2 in the afternoon. It's completely up to you when you do it, how often you do it, how much time you spend doing it. But it is definitely a way, which still to this day shocks me. It's definitely a way to be able to get to know people and to let people get to know you, right? Because when you're posting stuff, they'll have visibility to that. When there's something that strikes you, something that you like that somebody posted, and you can engage and contribute to it, you want to do that just as you would do if you were in a room standing in front of each other having a conversation about something. And that's the way you want to think of it. Whatever post you see, think of it as if that person is standing in front of you saying those words and how you would respond to it. It's about being very transparent, being yourself, letting people see the real you. It's really important to do that. If you're on LinkedIn and you're not engaging, that's like going to a networking event and standing in the corner, not talking to anybody. That's what that's like. It's not going to get you anywhere. It's not going to do any good for you. You got to get in it. You got to get into conversation, right? You got to work the room. And I'm going to show you how to work the room. I'm going to give you some examples of how to work the room on LinkedIn. Because when it comes to prospecting, in the businesses that we're in a B2B relationship, prospecting really is more about relationships than anything. It's very rare that somebody is going to say, they need a certain service, so they're going to go onto their LinkedIn feed and see who posted about that service, and then they can buy that service from that person. I mean, have any of you ever done that? Any of you ever said, oh, you know what I need? I absolutely need a coach or consultant, and I don't know anybody in my network, so I'm just going to go on LinkedIn and see who's posting about that I can buy services from. Or I need a bookkeeper. I want to go on LinkedIn and find one, right? Like nobody does that. It's really about your network saying to you, hey, I know somebody great, or passing along people that they use, right? It's very relationship based. So we want to make sure that we're building relationships outside of LinkedIn and on LinkedIn, and then we're intersecting the two. You have to make an intersection. It's not about LinkedIn and off LinkedIn. It has to become part of the process. You have to integrate it. It becomes a very fluid stream of people, content, and information if you can start integrating it on to off LinkedIn, off to on LinkedIn. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So relationship-based businesses. It's not about how many ads you can put out or how many times you need to post per day. I get that question all the time too. Bobbie, how many times per day do I have to post to be effective? It's really not about any of that. It's about establishing relationships, and you can only do that with conversation. So first, let's start with the network. Let's make sure we have the right network of people. So I'm going to show you how to quickly make sure you're connected to all of the people you should be connected to. You can only send connection requests. You can only send 100 a week, right? So it might take you some time to get where you need to get to. But if you dedicate yourself, you could get through that in a couple weeks to a couple of months to make sure that you're connected to everybody you should be connected to. And sending a note is critical. You have to send a note. Really, you should send a note. It's just business etiquette, right? Not sending a note is like running up to somebody in the middle of the street, flicking your business card in their face and running away. That's what it's like. You want to send a note and, thank you for meeting for coffee. It was great chatting. Let's see how we can collaborate down the road, right? Or I'm going to be at the event next Tuesday. Are you going? I'd love to meet up when you're there. First of all, it is business etiquette. But second, LinkedIn saves those messages. So 10 years from now, when you're like, oh, God, why did I connect with Bobbie? I don't remember why that is. You can go back and look at that messaging that you initially sent 10 years ago and say, oh, that's right. We met at the Fang event. That's right. Okay. So now I know where she's from, and now there's some perspective to it. So it does a couple of things for you. And it only takes a couple of seconds to write a note. You only get 300 characters. So it's not like you can, you're not going to write, 50 pages. It's going to be a quick note of how you met and thank you, right? Or why you want to connect. It's just polite. So doing that, it's best to do it straight from the profiles. There are a couple places to send connection requests to people, but not all of them allow you to write a note. Some of them will automatically send the connection request. The phone. People ask me about that all the time. On your app, you absolutely can send a message with a connection request. Everybody tells me you cannot send it. It's because you're not looking in the right place to send a connection request from your phone. You want to go into the ellipses on the profile to the right of the connect button that allows you to send a note. So you can send a note. You should send a note. Always send a note. If you don't send a note, you can actually withdraw a connection request. And most people don't know that either. And this is part of LinkedIn 101, is being able to withdraw a connection request. So let's quickly go through building the network, how to do that, where to pull the information, how to do it in bulk, right? So there are going to be exceptions to everything that I tell you, because there's exceptions to every rule, first of all. The exception to the connection rule, I'm going to show you that in a second. So on LinkedIn, if you are, I'm on my profile up on the top. I know mine's in, I have mine in dark mode, which you can do in settings. Most of you probably have white LinkedIn profiles because you're not in dark mode. That's completely up to you. You can go into dark mode or not. I do this because it's easier on my eyes. And I don't need to wear glasses if it's in dark mode. So I'm going to go here to the top ribbon. I'm going to refer to this as the black ribbon or white ribbon, because yours is white. I'm going to click on the second icon in, which is the My Network tab. From the My Network tab, I get on the left side, I get a left sidebar. And here's the thing with the left sidebar. You can't always, depending on how big or small your screen is. So if I increase it, usually my screen's bigger than this. You can't always get to the bottom part here that shows add personal contacts at the bottom. The problem with that is even if you scroll, it doesn't scroll the left sidebar. So either you can shrink your screen to get to the bottom, or you can click show less under the My Manage box to collapse it and then be able to see your bottom part that says add personal contacts here. In add personal contacts, you're going to actually go below the email that they automatically populate, below the continue button, and then go to more options. Under more options, you have the ability to pull in email address books from your emails. So this is one way to grow your network quickly, is to actually pull in, you have Gmail, Yahoo, Outlook, and AOL. You can pull in all of those. And so what's going to happen is LinkedIn is going to pull in all the email addresses from your address book specifically, and then it's going to match it to the email addresses on LinkedIn profiles, and it's going to recommend to you people that you should be connecting to from there. So you can easily pull in all of your address books. And if their email is in your address book, likely you know them, but you'll be able to choose them individually. You'll be able to place a check mark on the box. And this is actually a bulk invitation that you're sending out when you do this. here's the thing with this. This is the instance where you're not going to be able to send a message, but because you know these people and these people know you, that is okay, right? You're going to break the rule here. Send the messages, get connected. Once they connect with you, you're notified. Send them a thank you at that point, okay? Just thank them for connecting, let them know you're looking forward to networking and engaging with them on LinkedIn. And if they're a potential prospect, use that opportunity to ask for a one-on-one over Zoom or coffee if they're close to you in proximity. You might be able to actually go out and do that, depending on, depending on, right? It's really that simple. Now, in addition to that, under your Manage My Network tab in your My Network icon, you have connections and contacts listed. All right. Connections, we all know, are your first degree connections. Contacts are different. So I have 9,455 contacts. This is everybody I'm connected to digitally, really pulled in from everywhere where I have LinkedIn. So I have LinkedIn on my phone, right? I have LinkedIn on my desktop, and I have other platforms that have contacts in them on my phone and on my desktop. So in contacts, that's where all of these contacts live. So if I go into contacts, up at the top, it shows you a drop down, right? It usually automatically defaults to Facebook, but it also has pulled in my Google contacts, my Google Calendar contacts, other digital contacts, phone calendar, phone contacts, uploaded contacts, and Yahoo contacts. So this is LinkedIn accessing all of those databases that I have available, and it's asking me if I want to connect to these people or invite them to LinkedIn. So just understand what this means, okay? So right here it says Christy Malone invite Susanna Fu connect, right? Let me explain what's happening here. Where it says invite, what's happening? So first of all, I am connected to Christy Malone on LinkedIn already, but LinkedIn doesn't recognize I'm connected to her, and that's because she uses a different email address for Facebook than she does for LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is saying her email address is not on LinkedIn. They're telling me to invite Christy to join LinkedIn, which I don't want to do. All right. If I invite Christy to join LinkedIn, not connect with me, that's not what it's saying. It's saying send Christy an email asking her to join LinkedIn. So she's going to get an email saying Bobbie's asking you to join LinkedIn. If she clicks yes to that, it's automatically going to start creating an alternate profile for her on LinkedIn. So you definitely don't want to do that. So just be aware too. Search your contacts and see if you're connected to them if you're not sure. Some of them you're going to know right off the bat. Now, connect means that the email address is on LinkedIn. LinkedIn has found that email address associated with a profile, and it's telling you that you're not connected to that person. So hitting the connect button is totally fine every time. So just as long as it's absolutely somebody you know. So then Susanna Fu is going to get a connection request to join my network on LinkedIn. So two totally different things happening there. So you can easily go through all of your drop downs. And the calendar is a great one to start by, right? It's really great because you've met with all of these people. You've had meetings with all of these people. So you know these people and they know who you are. So it's something to do from this perspective, because it is like it's just single here. You can hit single buttons. I would recommend opening up the profile in a new tab, just right click, open into a new tab, and send a connection request from their profile. All right, it's going to take a little bit longer, but you're going to be able to add a note then, and LinkedIn is going to store that note for you. Okay, so it's something very basic and simple you can do to quickly build your network with everybody you know. Now, how do you actually manage that, right? Going forward, how do you continue to connect with everybody you know? And how are we going to qualify people reaching out to us? And how do we clean up our network so that we're removing people that don't make sense, but also starting to build relationships with people that we should be building relationships with, right? This is all important. It's about maintenance once you get to the point that you're connected to everybody. So as far as the practice of connecting with everybody that you have a meeting with, you know, we all use these calendar links these days to schedule time. Probably 8 out of 10 of you have that here, where you say, here's my link, just book a time on my calendar. It's easier for everybody. You can reschedule, you can cancel. There's less communication back and forth about it. It's just much more streamlined. Well, in every single one of those apps, you have the ability to ask questions. What's your first name? What's your last name? What's your company name? And what's your reason for wanting to meet, right? Well, one of the questions you can ask is, what is your LinkedIn URL? You just type that right in. So every time somebody books a meeting with you and you're reviewing the information, immediately click on that LinkedIn URL. go to their profile, send them a connection request. Okay, it becomes habit. And now you're connecting with every single person you meet all of the time. So now you're building a network very intentionally. Okay, now how do we qualify people that are reaching out to us? Let me go back to the My Network tab. So as you can see here, as I'm looking at my invitations, this is great. A lot of people, and thank you all who are sending it with a note on this meeting right now. I appreciate you. Thank you. So you can see wherever there's a note, I have the ability to reply to you. Let me show more, but where there isn't a note, I don't have the ability to reply to you. Not here anyway, but if I go one level deeper, I have the ability to reply to everybody, and you are not required to accept invitations from anybody, right? You can ignore any invitation, or you can actually qualify them and ask them why, if they haven't written you a note, or if the note doesn't tell you enough information. So Cami Gildner is inviting me to connect, but I don't know why she's inviting me to connect. She hasn't told me. I don't know who she is. I know we have 6 people in common, and that's it. That's all I know. I haven't looked at her profile, so I don't know a whole lot about her. But I'm going to go up here to the top right and click see all 33 or whatever the number is. And from here, I have the ability to send her a message. And I'm going to qualify her. First, I'm going to look at her profile, try and understand why she would send me a connection request. I might put that in the message too, but I'm going to message her back and say, Cami, thank you so much for taking the time to reach out to connect with me on LinkedIn. However, I didn't see a note with your connection request, and I really do take pride in building my network the right way. So before we connect, would you mind telling me what prompted you to reach out at this time? So it might be that she wants to talk to me about services. It might be that she wants to talk to me about networking. It might be that she attended an event that I was at. I don't know what her reason is, but I'm going to find out before I commit to connecting with her and bringing her into my ecosystem. Also,
Yeah,
it gives me the ability to open up a dialogue with her, right?
Bobby, I was just saying that's a good point because if I look at my invitations, it's half of them are fake bots.
Yeah,
And the others are people vendors trying to sell you stuff.
right?
So it's
Right.
often it's a good filter to know like what the genuine underlying motivation is and how we can help each other.
Right, because what you don't want is to start connecting with a bunch of people that are they just care about your checkbook, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's not first of all, it's not the right way to prospect on LinkedIn at all. If you think about it, we don't like it. I don't want to be sold to. I don't want to be closed. I'm not on LinkedIn to buy anything or sell anything. I'm on LinkedIn to network, learn, meet people, engage, see who I can help. That's what I'm on LinkedIn for. And that's what people want on LinkedIn. They're not there to buy or sell. I mean, a lot of people are there to sell, but it's just not how it works, especially in a B2B environment. It doesn't work that way. So you have to develop relationships here that turn into meetings, that turn into sales. So that's really how it goes, right? So filtering is huge. You really should filter. If they don't respond to you, they never cared to begin with. So that means they were just adding you in as a number, or their intention was to sell to you the whole time. And now you've asked them, but they don't want to tell you that. So like they're not going to respond and you don't have to connect with them. They don't get a note saying that you didn't accept their connection request. They don't know. I mean, they'd have to go back to look and see and send you another connection request if that were the case. So you can see here you have both a receive tab and a sent tab. In your sent tab, you can actually withdraw connection requests. You can withdraw them. So if I see like Melissa Cooper, I sent her after we chatted. We had a conversation. She was brought into a meeting. I wasn't aware she was attending. I'd already connected with everybody else that I knew was attending in the meeting. So I sent her this message following the meeting and just said, great chatting, looking forward to the next conversation. But she hasn't accepted yet. So it's possible that, well, I know she doesn't use LinkedIn very often. So that's one thing. So I'll wait. If this was only 1 week ago, she'll probably see it next week. But I can also withdraw it and then resend it to her and pop it back to the top of her invitations if I want to. But I'm not worried. I think she's just going to connect when she gets on. It's not a big deal. But if you got a bunch sitting in here, you can definitely withdraw and resend. Or if you send a connection request by accident, there is like there could be a hold before you could send it again. You may have to wait up to 3 days, but that LinkedIn says that. I've just never seen that happen. I've never had to wait 3 days to resend a connection request. But just be aware that LinkedIn says you may have to wait 3 days to resend a connection request. Now,
I've had that experience. It took 30 days to resend it.
Wow, that's something wrong. there's something wrong, then it should never take 30 days. That's crazy. That's like, you got to reach out to LinkedIn and send a ticket in about that. There's something broken, which happens. It happens, right? This platform is huge. There's a ton of people on it. It's got a ton of moving parts. Things break all the time. You guys will actually hear me say that I think LinkedIn is run by two guys in a basement. And this week, one guy's on vacation. I say it all the time. It's technology. All right. All right. So also know that if you are being pestered by somebody or something is inappropriate, that you can block people. It's another part of managing your network. So in anybody that you're connected to or not connected to, by blocking somebody, you completely cease to exist to them on LinkedIn, and they completely cease to exist to you on LinkedIn. So you cannot see each other's profiles. You cannot see anything that you comment on. You literally do not exist to each other. Now, you can only block 50 people, and you can remove a block, but once you remove a block, there's a 3-day waiting period before you can block them again. So if they block you instead, then the power is on their side until you figure out that they've unblocked you at some point. So blocking, Mark, I apologize. I'm going to use you as an example. I'm going to go ahead and open up your profile. I'm going to show how to block. I'm not going to block you, but I'm going to show how to block from here. So if something inappropriate is happening, or it's a, somebody stealing your content, if it's somebody that's like tracking you, you can actually go right here to their LinkedIn profile. You go to the more button to the right of the accept button. And in there, you have a number of options, one of which is ignore, and that's just ignoring the invitation. But then the other is to report or block. So I can report or block Mark, either report him for inappropriate behavior or block him from being able to see me at all. You can also see there's a follow button. So if there's following and connecting on LinkedIn, it's two different things, right? Connecting is a double opt-in access to each other. Following is one-sided. So if I follow Mark, then I get to see all the stuff he posts in my feed, but he doesn't see my stuff in his feed unless he follows me back. So following is what gives you the ability to see what they're actually posting, their activity on LinkedIn. Yes, Bill, what's your question?
Yeah, Bobbie, thanks. You said there's a 50 limit on blocking. Is that a lifetime limit?
Yeah.
Ooh, to be more judicious then about using that. When someone tries to sell me, as soon as I connect with them, that's an immediate block. It's like, I don't want to be connected with you.
Well, Bill, now you can actually just qualify them, right? You can ask them why they want to connect first. And then that's going to save some of the blocking for you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Sherilyn.
Thanks, Bobbie. I have two questions. One is, I get requests all the time to follow someone's organization as opposed to connecting with them. Or maybe I'm already connected with them, but then they ask me to follow. So what's the benefit? Why should I do that? Or should I do that?
Great question.
Usually I don't.
Okay. So let's go to the thing company page, right? Let's do that. Okay. So here is the company page. This company page belongs to the FENG. And so you can see I'm following this company page. So what happens from this? The ability, so following a person and connecting with a person gets you the information that they are putting out. So if you follow Joyce, for example, here as part of the FENG, or connect with Joyce, either one or both, you're going to see all the stuff that she posts specifically to her profile on LinkedIn. If you follow the FENG company page, you're going to see everything that the company page posts on LinkedIn. So it's access to different information. What Joyce posts doesn't necessarily go to the company page, right, and vice versa. Okay. So follow the companies that you're interested in following information about, then you'll get updates. You won't miss stuff. Does that answer your question?
It does. And then related to that, you mentioned earlier the difference between following and connecting. What I've noticed recently is that when you do connect, you also follow.
Yes, that's automatic. So that's always been like that. So, so connecting is a full double opt-in.
Two-way. Yeah.
Yeah. So automatically you are following each other. So you would have to intentionally go and unfollow. So you could be connected to me, and then that makes us follow each other. That's why we can see each other's stuff. That's what following does. And then you could actually go into my profile and unfollow me, but stay connected, which means that we still have access to each other, but you're not seeing any of my stuff in your feed. That's what that means. Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Good questions. Perfect. All right, Mark. Oh, you're on mute.
On mute.
Oh, there you
Regarding
go.
the following, the more followers you have, does it mean that when you post, you get a higher priority? That's first question.
No,
Okay.
but go
Second
ahead. Go
question.
ahead.
Second question is, last week somebody connected with me and I never accepted it. And he said, "Oh, thank you for connecting." And then he wanted
Yeah.
to sell me something. And I thought, is it because he was like a premium member or?
Oh, no, 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 no. So he sent you a connection request, and did you
No, no, no.
ignore it, or did you just let it sit there?
I never saw a connection request. He just sent me a message and he was already a connection and I never connected with him.
Are you okay? So you're sure he's a connection, or you just know he sent you a message?
It says he's a first connection.
Okay. So I would disconnect from him first of all. And sometimes
Mhm.
things just happen that nobody should be able to connect with you just because of anything. You should
Okay.
have to accept. So it's also possible that you like click a button on your
Yeah,
phone by
on a
accident,
phone,
right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Phone's
yeah.
in the pocket.
Yeah, right. Like butt connecting. That's what I call that, right? Sitting in your pocket and you accidentally sit on it. So that's very possible that that happened. I've actually seen myself get connected to people I didn't know accidentally over the years. And I still will reach out and qualify them before I decide whether to stay connected. So that's another thing, right? Going through your network. So let's talk about that for a second and just being aware. If you go into your My Network tab, so we're going to do that again. And on the left-hand side, we've got connections, right? I'm going to click on my connections, my 2,823 connections. It is sorted by most recently added. So if you stay on top of it, you'll be able to see your last, this is all the way back to 4 days ago, 3 weeks ago. So I can look, back a couple of weeks and just know whether or not these are all people I intentionally connected to, right? If you stay on top of it. Now, first, you want to clean it up. You absolutely want to clean it up. So if you sort alphabetically, so I'm going to sort by first name, then I am actually going to, now the reason why Ken is at the top is because you put a period in front of the K. And so that's recognized ahead of letters. So he's at the top. So I'm going to go through and I'm actually going to look at each person and say, okay, do I know Ken? Okay, yeah, I know Ken. And I want to be connected to Ken. Aaron, do I know Aaron? I don't know Aaron. Should I be connected to Aaron? Let me look at his profile and see what he does. Have Aaron and I ever talked? I look at the messaging to see if we've ever messaged each other. I don't know this guy, but I should know this guy. So I'm actually going to reach out to Aaron and say to him, hey, Aaron, we've been connected on LinkedIn for quite some time. And I take pride in knowing my network, but you and I have never had the opportunity to actually have a conversation. Could we schedule a 20-minute Zoom meeting to determine whether or not there's room for collaboration down the road? Right? And I'm going to see if he's interested in having a conversation with me. So what I expect to happen is he's going to look at my profile. He's going to see who I am and what I do. And if he is interested, we are going to have a conversation. And that's the start of something. Now, if he's not interested, he's not going to answer me, right? And I might send a follow-up, but I might not. I might just withdraw. So over here, this is where you remove the connection over in the ellipses. Now, there's 2,823 connections is a lot of connections. So you might do a couple of passes. But if you took like one letter a week, right? I'm going to do letter A today, letter B next week, or maybe you'll be able to get through a couple of letters in 1 week, depending on how much time you can dedicate. You can get your network where it needs to be in short order. And at the same time, you can be prospecting. So the people that you don't know, but at one point said, oh, they would be really good to talk to at some point, right? You're going to stay connected to them. You've never actually gone back and had the conversation with them. So you can very intentionally now go through and determine those people that you said you were going to go back to that you never did because nobody ever does. Now you can start setting those meetings, right? We've been connected on LinkedIn. We've never actually talked. I'd really like to get to know you. Can we have a conversation? Let's set up a 20-minute. Here's my calendar link, right? So now you can start getting some of those meetings on the books. However, I do recommend, having that connection does give you some warmth to it, right? You are connected. You both agreed to connect to each other. There had to be a reason on both sides that you were going to do that. So there's something there. But for the ones that are a little tougher, the ones that aren't responding, that you really do want to stay connected to, you should actually be talking to them on LinkedIn. And I don't mean messaging privately. I mean publicly engaging in their stuff, right? People love it when people comment on their stuff. And there's a difference in liking, commenting, sharing. So just be aware of that. Commenting is the most heavily weighted action that you can take on anybody's posts on LinkedIn. And the more that you specifically comment on their stuff and they engage back with you, the more your stuff actually shows in their feed, because LinkedIn recognizes that they want to hear more from you. So now you are intentionally putting yourself in their news feed by engaging with them. Now people say, Bobbie, what, like, I mean, what do I just wait until they post something? So you could be sitting on the feed all day. No, you do not wait. So I'm going to say, let's say, oh, I'm going to use, let's use Adam Russ, right? I'm going to use him as an example. Say, see, oh, first of all, that's why I wanted to point this out. See this green dot here with the center, your center would be white, but my center is black. That actually tells me that Adam Russ is on LinkedIn right now on his mobile phone. He's actually on it. So if I comment on something right now, he's going to see it right now. If that was a closed green dot, no black center, all green filled in, that would tell me that Adam is on LinkedIn on his desktop right now at this moment. So I know that if I comment on something, Adam's going to see it, right? So right now, Adam is on his phone on LinkedIn. He's always on his phone on LinkedIn, always. This dude is, he loves LinkedIn and he loves using his mobile. So I'm going to actually open up Adam's profile here into a new tab. And from his profile, I'm going to go to his activity section, if it ever gets there. Because here's the thing, I don't really have time to wait around for people to post stuff on the home feed or to sit there and search for it. That takes way too much time. We need to streamline conversations. So I'm going to go down to his activity section. All right. And I'm going to click on show all activity at the bottom of that box. Now I am looking at a full stream of everything that Adam is posting about, everything he cares about, all the things that matter to him. That's all this entire page, broken down by either all of his activity, articles that he publishes. So this is stuff that he has written and published on LinkedIn. So if anything, this is what I want to comment on, is the stuff that he has taken the time to publish on LinkedIn. Now, also I have his standard posts, the stuff that he puts out in his feed, right? Just everything that he just does a quick post on. And then there's also any documents that he's actually put out there. But articles are where you really want to spend the most of your time, because these people have spent most of their time on articles, if they're publishing articles. These are like, this is like the blogging section on LinkedIn. We all get it. Everybody has the ability to publish articles on LinkedIn. You spend time on this, right? You spend time on this. Also newsletters, you spend time on those. If you actually put out a newsletter on LinkedIn, we all have that capability as well. Free or paid, doesn't matter. So here's the thing. Everybody has that activity section. We all have a URL associated specifically with that activity section. So here's what I recommend to you. You come across, like, have your top 25 targets. Like, when you prospect, you build a target list. We can build target lists based on first degree connections and or second degree connections. I'm hoping we get to that today. So you want to actually start talking to people based on the things they care about. This is not about finding them to sell to them. This is about building a relationship. This is about building a rapport, building trust. That's what this is about. So also those first degree connections that you've been connected to forever, that you don't know who they are, but you want to get to know them. This is how you're going to do that. You're going to go to their profiles, go to their activity section, open it up. Then you're going to take this URL and you're going to copy it to an Excel spreadsheet or a Word document, whatever I'm an Excel geek myself. I use Excel for everything, regardless of whether it should be used for Excel. I love it. I'm going to put this straight down the line, right in, cell A1 is going to be Adam Russ's activity link. And then I'm going to go A2, the next URL for somebody's activity link that I'm targeting. So you're going to just click on that link. If you targeted 25 people, you have your top 25, right? That's 5 people a day, 5 days a week to actually get on LinkedIn and network with. That's an hour, half hour if you get really good at it, right? You can just spend 20 to 30 minutes doing that. So each day I take 5 of those links, click on it, I go in and I find something that makes sense for me to engage in, okay? Something that makes sense, something that, transparently I care about, or I can agree with, or provide feedback on, or bring somebody else, tag somebody else in the conversation. If there's something in common, if there's somebody we know together, right? That's what I'm looking for, is how can I engage in Adam's stuff and the things he cares about. Now, Adam, here's a good example. So this is Adam celebrated something by Adam Russ. So there's 2 Adam Russes apparently. That's just a coincidence. Anyway, so this is like a room in and of itself. This is one room that contains 47, 48, 49, 50 people in this one room, okay? So if I click on Adam H. Russ plus 47 others, I get to see who all is in that room. This is everybody in the room. is everybody that is engaged in this piece of content. Okay. These are mostly second and third degree connections of mine, as I can see, not a whole lot of first, a couple of first degree connections. I can break it down by how they engaged, whether they supported it, loved it, celebrated it, or liked it. Not that that's important, but what this allows me to do is know who's going to see my engagement. So all of these people, if I click the like button, if I click comment and say something, all of those people are going to get a notification in their bell that I have actually said something on this post. So now I'm inside of the room, in front of the room speaking. That's what I'm doing. So this is when I say work the room, this is what I'm talking about. So even from
Bobbie,
here,
just a question on the like button. Does that really do anything, or should we take the extra step and add a comment?
okay, comments are the most heavily weighted. So you definitely, if you can comment, that is what you want to do. The like button, I mean, think of it this way. Like if I click like, it's like me walking up to Adam in that room of 50,
Yeah.
give him a high five and walking away. That's what that is. Instead of actually stopping, having a conversation with him, talking to him,
Sure.
having other people able to hear me in that conversation. So like, comment, and repost. It used to be share, now it's repost. This is the difference. And there's a pretty critical difference. So think about like sitting at a dinner table with 6 other people. And I'm sitting and Mark, Bill, and Larry, the 3 of you are at the top of my screen. So I'm going to use you guys as examples. The 3 of you are sitting there also. Larry and Bill are having a conversation about how great the event is and how they've been looking forward to it. And I'm sitting across the table nodding my head. I'm in agreement. I'm there. I'm contributing, but I'm not saying anything. That's a like, right? So Larry and Bill are talking about the event and how excited they are. And I'm like, yeah, you know, I've really been looking forward to this too. I even brought 5 people with me. They're over there. I'll bring them on over. That's me tagging people in the comments. You know, that's me commenting. That's actually getting acknowledgement, right? That's me engaging, having a conversation going. Now, if they're having the conversation and I leave that table and I go to the table next to me and I say, did you hear what they're saying about the event? That's a repost. That has now separated. Now there's 2 different lines of conversations happening. 2 different tables are talking about the event now. So you would have to repeat yourself in whatever you're saying in both places for everybody to hear it. So repost, a lot of people think that's the best thing to do. It is not. It separates the conversation. It's not heavy. It's not more heavy. It's not heavier weighted than a comment either. It's the same. So commenting is it's the best for one, for your visibility, but it's also the best from an engagement perspective is commenting. Comment, 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 comment. Good question. Mark, what's your question?
If I like something that you posted and I share it, now it's going to my network. So I can, so it doesn't help to network with the people who are already in the room, but it gives me a way to start a new post, correct?
Okay, so regardless of what button you press, regardless,
Yeah.
whether it's like, comment, repost, it's always going to populate it back to the top of the news feed, giving visibility to anybody you're connected to that happens to be on LinkedIn at that moment. It doesn't
Oh.
go to anybody, right? It's not sent to your network. That's not what happens. It just goes to the top of the news feed and allows visibility to the people that are on the LinkedIn newsfeed at that time. Now, also, what happens when you click the like button or comment or repost, whatever one you click, it doesn't matter. The notifications up at the top in your bell, you go into the notifications of everybody in the room, and it's either going to say Mark liked or celebrated a post that you were mentioned in, or it's going to say that Mark commented. So either way, the same thing is happening there, but the visibility for a comment is much different because it requires more attention from the person. Does that
So
make sense?
just to clarify, so if I comment, then it's not going to be visible only to the people in the room, but it's visible to everybody.
Anybody that happens to be, so yes, so there's 2 things happening there. One, everybody in the room, all 47 people get the notification, okay? 2, it's going back to the top of the news feed, giving visibility to your network that happens to be on LinkedIn at that time,
I see.
okay?
All right. Now, I did send you a request connection, and now I am following you somehow.
Yes, okay, so let me explain that. I am in creator mode. creator mode, anybody can be in creator mode. Creator mode is about building a follower base. So
Okay.
in creator mode, everybody that sends me a connection is automatically following me, regardless of whether I accept the connection request or not. So that means you see all of the stuff I post in your feed. That's what that means. And then
Okay.
once I accept the connection request, we have full availability to each other. So creator mode is for people that are trying to build a follower base and subscribership. And it really has a lot to do with the newsletter, getting the newsletter out. The newsletter is another level of content distribution that allows you to reach people more directly, because a newsletter on LinkedIn actually gets emailed to your email inboxes of all the subscribers of your newsletter. So it's not that it just gets a post. It's not that it's just it's not just a notification in the bell. It's an actual email to your inbox when you actually do a newsletter on LinkedIn, which is part of inbound lead generation. So there's outbound lead generation and inbound lead generation on LinkedIn. You really do need a combination of both. Everything starts with building the network and actually networking, but inbound lead generation requires content distribution. It requires posts, published articles, newsletters, right? That kind of thing. LinkedIn Live, LinkedIn events, all of those things, or a combination of those things, in order to be visible to certain ecosystems across LinkedIn, because there's a bunch of different ecosystems on LinkedIn for each of us. We have our LinkedIn connections, we have our LinkedIn followers, which could cross over, it doesn't necessarily have to. We have our company page followers, totally separate, right? Then we have subscribers, totally separate. They may or may not be connected to you. They may or may not be following you. And then we've also got group members. So you could take the same single post and you could put it out in front of all of those different groups and never hit the same person twice. You could take the same post and put it in front of all of those places and hit millions of people a day with one single post, if you put it in the right place at the right time. Really, it's really that basic. All right. So creator mode on your profile changes a little bit about the profile as well. I'm just going to go to my profile real quick. Creator mode, first of all, it pops your follower number up to the top of your profile. It allows you to put hashtags that you use regularly at the top of your profile. It changes the layout of your profile. So what it does is it puts, so you can see I have creator mode on. It's under resources. This is where you would go to turn it on. But if you're going to turn it on, be aware of what happens. First of all, your connect button to other people gets hidden in the more button, and it's replaced with a follow button. So people actually have to click more in order to send you a connection request, or they can just follow you, one or the other. Your content is moved to the top of the profile. So your featured would be the very next section, and then your activity goes right below that, and then about after that is the rest of your profile. So all of your content focused stuff gets moved to the top of the profile when you're in creator mode. It just shifts a little bit. All right. Creator mode is good if you are actually going to distribute content, if you intend to write a newsletter and build subscribers. Other than that, there's no reason to be in creator mode. Some people just turn it on just to turn it on. It can actually be more confusing for folks that want to connect with you, especially if you're not distributing content. Content is one of the topics. It's not today's topic, but it is one of the topics because there's so much behind distributing content on LinkedIn. All right. Okay. All right. Can we move on to the next thing? Are you guys good with that? All right. Let's move on to the next thing. All right. So now you've built your network on LinkedIn, right? So hopefully you've got a profile that actually reflects the professional that you are, and you spend time working on that profile. Make sure the profile is filled out as much as possible. You want to give people as much information about you as possible. You want them to know everything about you that they need to know. Your profile should be written for your target audience. Okay. So if your target audience is a consumer, you have to understand what that consumer looks like, and you have to understand exactly what it is they want from you. So you want to talk in stories on your profile. Stories sell. So when we talk about prospecting, it's about tugging at heartstrings. It's about getting people to understand what it is you can do for them. So if you were to go to my profile and you were to read like my about section, that's my why in my about section. It's my story. It's why I actually do what I do. And it starts out with, let me tell you a story, right? So I get a lot of messages about my about section on a regular basis because people want to know how the story ends, which is something that I say in here is contact me if you want to know more about the rest of the story. And people do actually contact me. So this is what launched me into doing what I do today. And other entrepreneurs, right, small business owners, they can actually they look at this and they're like, yeah, it's very similar to what happened to me. It's actually a starting point for a dialogue. So this is not about anything except why I do. It's my why. So I recommend when you do write your profile that you put your why in your about section, why you do what you do, right? Why it actually propels you to be the professional you are. If you go down into my experience section, same thing. It's another story. This is a success story about a client of mine. Um, about why I was able to help and how I was able to help. And it's in story format. So it's not dry, it's not just, plain, numbers. And this is actually giving you an example, a specific example of how I help ease the burden from other business owners that I've worked with. And you can add one pagers and stuff as well. So you want to add service pages. You want people to be able to know exactly how you can help them, what services you can provide to them. So in my featured section and also in my experience sections, I have service pages so people can have a clear understanding of what it is I can do for them before we even get on that first call. So your profile has a bunch of sections in it too, right? So up here you have an add profile section button. I recommend that you actually click on that and take a look at every section you can possibly add. There are sections for networks that you belong to. Make sure you add your organizations, or if you do volunteer work, right? It shows another dimension of you. Add in your information about the school that you went to, right? Because alumni is critical. Add in everything about you that you should have out there on a professional profile, everything. And it's okay to get personal. It's okay to tug at heartstrings. It's okay to not be so buttoned up, right? People want to see your personality. Be the same person on your profile that you are in real life. That is the quickest tips I can give you on profile in general. And when it comes to search engine optimization, your headline is critical. You do want to make sure you have the right keywords in the right places. And there are 4 sections on your profile you really want to focus on keywords with, and that's your headline, your about section, your summary section, and your skills section. The skills section is the most heavily weighted section on your profile when it comes to search engine optimization or being found on LinkedIn. So in your skills, I'm not saying that you should put like your actual skills. You should actually name your skills in reference to services. So like for me in my skills, I have LinkedIn training. That's a skill, but it's also something people are going to search on for me. So you want to put in here the things that people will search to find you for your services, right? Sales operations, social media strategy. Yeah, that's a skill, but it's specifically something somebody's going to type into the search bar to find help with. So your skills should really reflect the services you provide that people will be searching for. All right. And you get up to 50. So if you can say that skill in a number of ways, people say it differently. You want to actually say it in a number of different ways. So like if I put Microsoft Office on here, I'm not just going to put Microsoft Office. I'm going to spell it out and say Word, Excel, PowerPoint, etc. Right? I'm going to put it all on there. So if there's multiple ways to say anything, put it all in there. You get 50. The more endorsements you get for your skills, the higher you show up in searches for those skills. So there's a lot of different things that put you higher in searches. One is having a paid platform. If you pay for LinkedIn, you populate higher in searches. It just kind of makes sense from a business perspective. Having the right keywords in the right places populates you higher. Having connections and followers that will contribute to you populating higher, but it's not a reason to populate, if that makes sense. The more engagement you have, the more you actually comment on LinkedIn, the higher you're going to populate. Also understand that the more you comment on people's stuff, the more you're going to show up in their feed, the more LinkedIn is actually going to have you show in their feed. So they recognize that you are engaging. So if you and I comment all the time on each other's stuff, I'm actually going to show up in your feed more frequently. LinkedIn's going to put me in your feed more frequently because the algorithms recognize that you're interested in what I have to say. So if you're prospecting, right, if you're taking those activity URLs, you're working 5 URLs a day, 5 days a week on a target of 25, then you are actually going to show up more to those prospects in their feeds on a regular basis. simply because LinkedIn's algorithms are picking up that you are engaging with each other or that there is interest in each other. So the more you engage, the more visible you are, the more you're going to populate, the more your stuff's going to pop back to the top of their feed. All right. Activity gets you activity. The more activity you have, the more activity you get. Okay. All right. Okay. So let's talk about referral partners. Let's talk about that for a second. So this is actually the story in my about section, which I'm going to give you real quick. So when I was actually working at an organization, I'm going to say 20 years ago in a sales capacity, and the keynote speaker every year at the kickoff, the sales kickoff, was always the top seller from that year. So it was my first year on with the company. I was gung-ho. I wanted to be the top seller, which was not possible at all to be the top seller in the first year. It was a long sales cycle. It takes 2 years to actually build the book in the business that I was in. And so I asked the speaker to, at the end of the conference that day, I asked her if I could take her for a glass of wine and talk to her about what she did and how she got there, because I wanted to be the one on stage the following year. And I said to her, I said, how did you do it? How did you do it? This was, when people cold called and it worked, right? Back when it used to work, because, before really internet was used widely, before information was at our fingertips, salespeople actually were how people got information. So you could pick up the phone and call into specific target audiences, and they would take the call because it would benefit them. So, this was, I would say social media was a thing, but not really a thing. People didn't really use LinkedIn that much at that time. If it was even out at that time, which I don't think it was actually, now that I'm thinking of dating myself. Okay. So anyway, we sat down and I said to her, I said, how did you do it? What did you do? How are you this successful? And she said, you got to network. And I was like, well, what is that? I had no idea what that was. Nobody ever told me. I wasn't classically trained in sales. She said, you join your local chamber, associations, affiliations, and you go there and you talk to other business people and you build your network that way, and you'll find people to do business with. And I was like, oh, I can do that. So I was all in. I was like, I'm going to join everything, right? I joined 5 chambers, 4 associations, Wednesday night winos on the main line in Philadelphia. I mean, I was networking everywhere, every day. 5 breakfasts a day, 5 lunches. I'm 5 breakfasts a day. That's a lot of breakfast. 5 breakfasts a week, 5 lunches a week, 4 evenings a week. I was networking. I did that for 6 months. I tracked my results. I had almost nothing to show of it, almost nothing after 6 months, except a huge investment in time and a huge investment in money that had very little ROI. I also didn't understand that networking took time, but I was like, this is not working for me. I got to figure something out. And so the following year, I had actually heard about LinkedIn for the first time, and not having grown up with social media, not really understanding social media, I didn't really get it in general. Like, I didn't understand, why would I get on social media to sell? Nobody cares what sweater I put on my dog or what creamer I put in my coffee today. I just don't see how that could even help. So I happened to see a speaker at a chamber event who was on for 15 minutes before the headliner was coming on, and it was all a sales conference. And that for that 15 minutes, the speaker talked about LinkedIn and how it was a different platform, that it could be used for networking, that it was really a job search platform, but didn't have to be used that way. So I thought, all right, well, what the hell? This lady says it works. Let me give it a shot. So I got on LinkedIn. Long story short, I did everything wrong. LinkedIn kicked me off 3 times. They had me sign documents saying that I wouldn't misuse the platform anymore. One thing I was doing wrong was just connecting everybody and anybody, because I thought on social media that's what you were supposed to do. After a while, you just get slapped on the wrist for that. So I went back, I read all of the instruction, like all the whole thing, the form that we signed with LinkedIn, and I started following the rules. One of the things I did was being very selective about who I connected with. And my goal was to hit 50 connections that year. I wanted to meet 50 people of value that would actually make a difference in my professional career, that I could also make a difference in their professional career. So I did. I spent that year very intentionally networking. And then I started clicking all the buttons on LinkedIn. I found out that I could actually look at other people's networks on LinkedIn. And so I started doing that. I asked 12 people in my network if they would sit with me and if they would make introductions for me based on who I needed to meet. And those 12 people said yes. They said yes. So we sat down, and in each of those 12 meetings, I found 3 people that they could introduce me to, that they had a great relationship with, that would take the meeting, that could actually use what I was offering. So from there, that turned into, as it extrapolated out, 500 meetings in 6 months with my direct decision makers. Do not misinterpret. I'm not saying 500 sales. I'm saying I actually started building a network of my decision makers, is what I'm saying. And that's what we need to focus on. It's not about the immediate sale. It's about surrounding ourselves with people that can buy from us, so that over the course of the natural sales cycle, when the need is there for them, they are ready to buy for us and we are ready to provide for them. So it's not about a hit and run. It's about maintaining relationships and the right ecosystem of people, surrounding ourselves with the right ecosystem of people. And this is how I did it. All right.
And multiple connections within the same organization, so that it's now easier to get buy-in when it's time for a sale, right, Bobbie?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's part of the networking deep and wide part of it, right? So it's not necessarily about connections, but like introductions and referrals into the right people. So I want to get into influencers and decision makers,
Sure.
both. I want the entire, yeah, I want the whole kit and caboodle. I want everybody that can say, yep, she's awesome and we need to bring her in. So that's support. Plus, right, you have the issue of people leaving organizations all the time.
Sure.
If you've invested only in one person and that one person leaves, you are starting from scratch.
Yeah, I hear that a
That
lot
is,
from salespeople. It's like, oh, I've been calling on him for months and he's gone.
yeah, right. You shouldn't have been so focused on that one person. The great thing is the power of social media allows you to focus on multiple decision makers at one time. So what I did was, in sitting with these people, it's not just that, you meet somebody for the first time and you decide you're going to send introductions for each other. It doesn't really work like that, but it changes the coffee meeting, right? We all do that. Everyone does coffee meetings. We're all prospecting. We're all trying to build our networks and ecosystems, fill the funnel. And think about how much you invest in that, like an hour plus of time. You spend $10 on an espresso and a blueberry scone, right? The conversation is, this is what I do, I'm wonderful, if you know anybody that needs my help, will you send them my way? The other person says, sure, this is what I do, I'm wonderful, if you know anybody that needs my help, would you send them my way? And you say sure, and then you both leave after an hour plus and $15 later plus whatever you paid for parking. And then you go back to the office and you start answering emails and you start putting out fires and responding to clients, right? What happened to that referral partner meeting? Nothing. There were no results at all. All you did was get a overpriced coffee and stale blueberry scone, and you had to pay for parking. But you met somebody, you connected with them on LinkedIn, hopefully, and that's about where it ends, right? I mean, think about how many coffee meetings you have that don't result in anything. But we can be much more targeted. So what we can do is actually identify who in our networks have the best networks for us to talk to. So I can identify who my best referral partners are in my LinkedIn network using LinkedIn. And then I can search within their networks for the people they should be introducing me to, right? That's really what we want to do. So I'm going to stop share for a second and find out about Sales Navigator real quick. If you have Sales Navigator, I want you to hit your reactions, any reaction at all. Does anybody have Sales Navigator on this call? I'm going to tell you guys that it's the absolutely best prospecting tool you could ever possibly ask for, ever. And I have used them all. Trust me. I train over 50 different sales technologies and nothing beats Sales Navigator, nothing. But I'm going to skip that. I'm going to go back to sharing since we only have one that has it. Let me go back to share. Let's skip Sales Navigator for a second. But I'm telling you, if you're going to invest in anything, that's what you're going to invest in. Why is that doing that? Okay, there we go. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click into my search bar and I'm going to hit the enter button on my keyboard. And that's going to drop down my, here we go. It's going to drop down my ribbon that allows me to click on all filters. All filters is to the right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to identify my ideal client profile through these filters, right? But I'm going to look at my second degree connections. So I'm looking one level out from my first degree connections, because what I'm trying to find out is who my entire, if you're my first degree network, I want to know everybody you know that I should know. That's what I'm looking at here. So I'm going to go through and I'm location agnostic, so that doesn't really matter.
Bobbie, real quick, what key did you hit from the search bar to get the menus?
All filters. All filters. It's the button all the way to the right.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. Absolutely. All right. So second degree connection is what we're looking for. We're looking one level out, right? And then you're going to fill everything else in. So location, I'm location agnostic. I'm not actually going to fill anything out there, but you may focus in your backyard. It's very possible. Talks about, skip that. The problem with this, I mean, it's great. You can use it to narrow down. But if you say, like, yeah, so if I check that I'm looking for somebody that talks about hashtag entrepreneurship, it's going to remove anybody that doesn't use that hashtag. And that's just too much. You know, people don't really use hashtags enough on LinkedIn to make this a worthwhile filter. So I'm going to say skip that. Okay. Current company. If you have a company target list, this is where you're going to put it. You can add up to 200 companies. You can add up to 200 filters to all of these. But if you have a target list, this is going to allow you to see who in your network is connected into these companies, right? I'm not going to put my target list in here right now. It's just going to take too much time. I'm going to skip past that. Past company, you don't need that. I mean, that's really better for recruiters than anything else. School, if you want to narrow down by alumni, that's always a warm touch point. You can. I'm going to skip that. Industry is very, you know, it's important. If there are industries you focus on, you should definitely complete this section. I am also industry agnostic, so I'm going to skip industry. Profile language, don't check anything. If there's nothing, like, you don't have to check English. You're just, it's all going to automatically default. You're going to go past open to and service categories that has no bearing here. And then down in keywords, this is where you're going to add title, right? So my decision makers are C-levels and business owners, consultants, coaches. I have all different targets depending on my services. So say I want to target the C-level, because I mean, you can use Boolean search logic here, but I don't recommend it. It's just too finicky with LinkedIn filters. I would recommend running a separate search for each title. If you want to, you can, like, for example, if you want to search for business owners, less is more, I would put in the word owners only, or owner. I'm going to say owner. And then the Boolean logic would allow you to add or subtract from that. So using the connecting words and, or, not, and, or, and not. Those are the connecting words. So it might be owner, but I don't know, not president, right? So then it would look for owners that are not the president. I don't know why you would search for that, but maybe it's controller, not CFO, right? You know, it's just which doesn't make sense either. But anyway, you can use not, you can use or, so it could be owner, or it could be CEO, right? Or it could be and, owner and. So the connecting word is in capital letters. The search terms are in quotes, but I do not recommend you do that. I think you should run totally separate searches for each title. So if I'm looking for the whole C-suite, I might just put in chief, because then it's going to populate everybody that has the word chief in their title. So that's what I'm going to look for. All right. Remember, I have just under 3,000 connections. This number is going to be huge, huge in the search results. So I'm going to go ahead and click show results. Now, the one thing we can't look for here is company size. In Sales Navigator, you can actually narrow, there are additional filters that actually help you really narrow things down faster. The filters on Sales Navigator are infinitely better, infinitely. But if this is what you have, this is what you work with. So I'm going to click show results. Okay. I have 104,000 chiefs in my second degree network right now. So it's 104,000 doors that can be opened for me by my first degree network right now. And I haven't even looked at the other decision maker titles, right? I haven't looked at owners or consultants or trainers or anything like that. I haven't looked at any of it. But this is what I want to do. I want to find out who my common denominators are. Who are my best potential referral partners? How do I do that? I'm going to look at this underneath the names of the people. I'm going to look at the first 3, maybe 4 pages at the people whose names keep coming up. So I got Kip here. Kip's probably going to be a big, Rob's going to be a big one. I knew that. Slade's going to be a big one. They're going to keep coming up in all of these pages. There's Kip again right there. There's Rob again. So I'm going to look at page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4. I'm going to find all my common denominators here. Those are the people that I'm going to meet with to have the conversation with about referrals, right? So Kip has come up 3 times on this first page. I know he's going to come up again on the second and third page, fourth page, etc. So I'm just actually going to go ahead and look at Kip's network directly now. So I'm going to go up to all filters again. I'm going to go back into my filters, which are still there. They've stuck. And in connections of, which is the second one down, I'm going to add Kip's name. There he is. I'm going to pull him in to the search criteria because I've identified him as a common denominator. So I'm going to show the results here. So this is 134 chiefs in Kip's specific network, specifically. So now I'm going to reach out to Kip and I'm going to say, hey, Kip, I could really use your help. And I think I can help you too. Do you think that we could schedule a 30-minute, 60-minute Zoom call where we could talk about how we might be able to contribute to each other's pipelines? Let's make some introductions for each other. Do you think that that's gonna benefit you? Absolutely. Everybody says yes to that. He's a business owner. I'm a business owner. Absolutely. So then I'm going to say to Kip, first of all, Kip, let me teach you how to do this. Let's do this together. Now, I have a list of potential opportunities in your network for me. What I need from you is your best relationships. Let's talk about the list. I want to know your top 3 relationships from this list of people that you know, that you can open the door to, that you think can benefit from knowing me. I'm not looking for 134 introductions. I want your top 3. So he's going to say to me, all right, Bobbie, Philip's not going to care about what you do. Jen, she doesn't really need it. But Stephen and Sam make a whole lot of sense. They could use your help, and I can definitely open those doors. So now I'm going to give him my email introduction. I'm going to cut and paste it, send it to him in an email, and it's going to say this, right? It's going to be from Kip to these people, but I've written it. So it's going to say, hi, Sam. As you know, I network quite frequently and sometimes come across people it makes sense to connect. This is one of those times. I'd like to introduce you to Bobbie Foedisch. Enter title here. Enter 2 or 3 lines about Bobbie and Bobbie Foedisch Consulting. I've included you both in this email. Simply reply all to narrow down a time to connect and keep me in the loop. I'd like to see where this introduction takes you both. Best Kip Boyle. That's the message, because this is about nothing other than Kip making the introduction. So if Kip does have the pull, he's going to get me this meeting regardless of what's in that email. 3 very short paragraphs, 2 to 3 sentences each. And then I am going to, as soon as I'm done this coffee meeting, as soon as I get back to the office, or as soon as I get off the call from the Zoom meeting, I am responding to those referrals and introductions that we've sent. Now, you do this with 1 person a day, right? If you came up with 5 referral partners that you could meet it with this week and got 3 referrals from each of them that were people that they know will take the meeting and can use your help. They know that as part of the conversation. First of all, that's 15 prospect meetings. And the natural conversion rate over the natural sales cycle for referrals of this manner is a minimum of 60%. You're going to convert 60% of those 15 meetings over the course of the natural sales cycle, because it's been one identified by somebody who knows, loves, and trusts you and the prospect and has said, I think they can use your help, right? Now it's about you going through your natural sales process. Now you build your network with people like that, and you keep building it that way with referral partners, with the people you're meeting with. Continue to build it out. Then the content that you distribute on LinkedIn is what keeps you top of mind with them. Plus you engaging with them, right? Putting them on that target list of engagement, the activity URLs. Get in front of them. Show them that you care about what they talk about, right? Now you've got people vouching for you. You're engaging in their stuff. You're networking with them. You're supporting them. And you're having conversations with an ecosystem that can actually use your help. This is how you're going to start converting people that you meet on LinkedIn and off LinkedIn. This is how you're going to convert to sales. Does that make sense? Do you think that's something that you could take the time to do an hour a day, right? Actually do that. So if you have 12 referral, I'm a big fan of the number 12. This is why. There's 4 quarters in a year. Each quarter is 13 weeks. You really have like 12 weeks because there's always a holiday, there's always stuff, right? There's vacations, things like that. If you meet with 1 referral partner per week over the course of those 12 weeks, and then you can actually do this well with each other, then you do that over the course of a year, right? You meet with that same referral partner once every quarter for a year. You are training them on who to refer to you. They're training on you on who to refer to them, but you're actually giving them specific examples. You're getting them in the process of sending those emails And after that first year, you do not have to meet with them anymore. They will organically send you referrals. Now you pick a new 12. After 5 years, you have 60 people sending you referrals. That's your compounded interest. 60 people. If each of those 60 people sent you one referral per year, you're converting 60% of that. You have 36 clients per year, right? This is barely the tip of the iceberg, guys, barely, but it's something you can do very effectively using LinkedIn today. Rick, what's your question?
Oh, well, no, I like this process of generating referrals. It's intentional instead of by luck or by random. Somebody
Else deciding who you should be introduced to versus you deciding who you should be introduced to, two
Or-
totally
or-
different lines, right?
yeah, or it's, it's just a random trigger says, oh, I should, waiting for that random trigger to happen. Oh, I know somebody should meet. So this is intentional, but I also wanted to say, let's wrap up by 7:45.
Oh yeah, so I know I went over, sorry guys, I always do. I'll take any last questions. I mean, there's not enough time to get into anything, anything like in depth anyway. But I definitely wanted to get through this part of the process. This is the one thing that I did at the very beginning that gave me the push that I needed. And I did 5 years worth of sales in my first year and a half because of this. So this was very intentional. I picked my referral partners very, very specifically. I was able to get 3 referrals from each of them every time. And I met with them 4 times over the course of the year. And to this day, I still get referrals from every single one of those people that I built my referral network with. So find that 12, right, for the whole year. Next year, you're going to want another 12, and the year after, another 12. So you're not always going to get that first set of 12 right off the bat, right? I mean, it's going to be like a rolling thing. You're going to find a couple of people that really can't open doors like they think they can. You're going to find people that really aren't going to be willing to do it. But if you go through, identify your common denominators first, run a search on their networks to make sure that they do have the network that can be helpful to you and vice versa, and then start meeting with them and having these conversations, plus showing them this, right? Now you're giving them the ability to fill their pipelines as well. So this is something that everybody can do. It includes that face-to-face networking components. It's a huge part of it, but also uses LinkedIn as a tool to help you start integrating your processes, to help you be online and offline with intention at the same time, and really identifying a process that allows you to attack the hybrid work model. Yeah. Any questions? Any other questions?
Bobbie, you're welcome to promote your LinkedIn coaching services in these last few minutes. And
Oh, well.
you'll get a copy of you'll get a copy of the chat, so you can always reach out to people too.
Well, I definitely recommend anybody reach out to me if you want to schedule a one-on-one, and if you have questions about anything, I'm happy to. I'm going to let you know ahead of time. My schedule books out pretty far, so apologies in advance for that. I'm more than happy to give advice. And as you have heard, I am a coach, consultant, and trainer. It's not really, I mean, LinkedIn is a baseline for everything, but really I'm about sales operations, sales and marketing, process, procedure, and my focus is just on getting an ROI out of everything. But it's just this is honestly a pay it forward kind of networking thing for me, and I am absolutely happy to help anybody. So please reach out to connect with me on LinkedIn, send me questions, schedule time, whatever it is that I can do to help. I am happy to do so.